Welcome everybody to 10 steps to using Google Analytics to track your social media success. All right then, so quick introduction on me. And then what I've done is break this into sections essentially, which become ABC. And it is about setting outcomes and then setting up goals in Google Analytics that match those outcomes. The next one, B, is to create what now is probably old language, but it's still very much around, which is UTM codes, and then share those on social. Don't worry about that yet. We'll come to that. And then C, you want to track the results and analyze the value that you derived. All of that will then give you a good idea of your ROI for social. Okay, so if you think of it, all you're going to have to think in terms of is ABC, but we're going to go through 10 steps to get there. Before we do, for those that don't know me, so my background was in organizational, well, my postgrad was in organizational psychology. I did law and business first as my degree. And I did the lynda.com course on AdWords this year. So I started to dive a lot deeper into analytics than I had done before. Got a lot of data. I've got over 1 million blog visits in the last couple of years. A lot of people know me from social media stuff. So we've got the evidence, and in terms of stats, I've been digging back into my own site and plus your business site, just a little evidence there for you in terms of the users, and looking at how to create processes that make it easy for you to track your social media success and really just getting rid of the kind of fluff around things and looking at the fact of what is working and what is not where, particularly which channels. Okay, so this is what you need to know. If you've got a pen and paper with you, then I recommend writing it down, but realize obviously you've got access to the video later, so you can do that. So the first thing is social bringing you results? So the question then becomes, what results are you seeking? But we want to look then is which channels, if you are getting the results, are you getting those results from? And then the next question is, can you re-engage the people who are most likely to bring you results? Can you remarket essentially to the people who are going to bring the results from an AdWords point of view or retarget from a Facebook point of view? And we're going to come on to that just in particular relation to one area, which is video, a bit later on, but it's going to apply to any sort of segmentation and ways of grabbing attention again. So the first thing we want to be doing, those are the questions we're going to answer and get you thinking about. But the first thing is to set your outcomes. Now, your outcomes may well be that you're looking to get more apps downloaded. You might want more subscriptions or opt-ins, or you might want more sales. But if you start with your outcomes, then your social media activity can be driven towards achieving those outcomes. Now, brand building, I think social media is wonderful for brand building. And I think for network and connections and relationships, awesome. But it's very woolly when it comes to analytics. And I think that we want to be having the two sort of running in parallel and understanding the wires under the boards and how things are connecting, as well as building the relationships. So once you've done your outcomes, you then want to move and think funnel. And this is the funnel, which I think is one of the most straightforward ways of approaching it. This is what we use with clients. The first thing is you grade them as 1 to 5, 1 being they click. They then, well, actually, do you know what? This isn't the process I'm currently using with clients, but this is one way you could break it down. We're doing something slightly different, but it is only 5 steps. But the first one is they click. The second one is they engage on the page, which might mean that they read the copy, they hang around for a period of time, and maybe there's a video there, and that they watch that video. The next thing is that they opt in, and there's a conversion to lead. So this process, the only reason it's different with clients is that we've needed to adjust just a few of the stages as to what information people get. But it's a solid process in that the first thing that you do is you get people on the page. Second thing is you get their attention so that they will opt in, and they are separate stages. But the conversion to lead is useful language for you to have. They signed up to something, they contacted you, you grade them as a 3. The 4 is then nurtured. They could be nurtured on an email campaign. It could be by phone. It could be something. And then the 5th stage is they buy, they close, and that's a conversion to sale. Now, what I've done throughout this process now is hopefully brought in this mentality. And so what I want you to go away with is think about the actions that people take and whether it is working, and measure the percentage conversions at each of these stages. Now, that's getting into something probably for a full-on presentation again. But essentially, the number of people that click to the number of people that buy, obviously they've got a direct relationship and there's percentages. But each stage along the way, you can optimize. And the optimization is going to increase the number of people that convert to the next stage. Right? So this should then become second nature with how you look at your marketing and driving individuals' traffic building through. And even though I'm going to talk very much in terms about traffic, we know it's about relationships. We know it's about brand. We know it's about trust. All these things, particularly if it's, well, even if it's a product sale, those are the things there. You just do it differently, do it through reviews and so on. So this is the other side of often what we talk about, which is the relationship side. This is the metrics. Okay, next. Once you've got your outcomes and you've got your process in place for what the funnel looks like, go and set up goals in analytics to match this. Now, this is very much an introduction into intermediate stuff around how you do this, but I'm going to give you the process just in case you don't know. First thing, go to the admin button on your analytics profile relating to that business. Go to goals then in that section and choose new goal. And as it happened, I wanted to track, for the purpose of this presentation, the signups, and it's signups to an offer that I had in relation to a show which I was launching. So goal setup, and then come down to the bottom, choose sign up. You could do it lots of different options, even to a point where you're looking at buttons clicked, etc. Then choose the goal description, and of course it could be sales and so on, right? But this is Geekonomics is the name of the show. If people signed up, then what I have to do is the type is put the code, which is going to come up on the destination page. And the destination page is the thank you page after people have signed up. So for those of you that have been doing AdWords and analytics for years, and of course you know this, and this probably isn't the right presentation for you, but if you haven't, then one of the mistakes that gets made is putting the code in the wrong place. For instance, on the page which is the destination page of where you're firing the traffic to, which we're going to come on to and share into social. This isn't that. This destination page is where they go to trigger the goal. So a person signs up and then lands on the page, and that is the signal to Google Analytics that this is then counted as a completed goal. Now, it could be that you have it that somebody stays on the page for more than 5 minutes, or it could be a number of screens they see, or it could be an event, etc. So all of these are different ways of you thinking what goals are you seeking to achieve at which stage. Okay, once you've done that, click continue. As you see, I've created a thank you page. I did this before I even did the rest of it, which I'll show you. So the first thing I do is start with the end in mind. Right? Very Stephen Covey. Go and create a thank you page and make it easy to read and understand when you see it in the future. So I use dashes in between Geekonomics -thank -page. Very simple. I've given it a notional value of $5 just so it has something in that, but there wasn't a sale on this occasion, and I don't put value on the opt-ins in this particular way. However, you might, and it could be important. Okay, once you've done that, you've got a goal set up. You've set the outcome and the goal, which is you want people to sign up, and you're then going to trigger the goal once they have. The next thing you do, go and create the website pages if they haven't already been created. So there you go. So you set up the thank you pages and you set up the landing pages, or the other way around, landing page, thank you page. Now, the reason I've done it this way is because I was going through a process of teaching for this particular course. You may already have your landing pages. You may already have the blog post, etc. that's set up. So you would just be using that. But if you don't have that thank you page, then you can't trigger that goal unless you're going to use one of the other criteria. As it happens, on the Geekonomics sign-up page, I had a couple of PDFs to draw people in, but I had a video on there. Remember that a little bit later, because that will become something that's important for you to look at and to do. And you'll see the reason why in a little while. Okay, Geekonomics thank you page. So put it there and let them know I'll whiz over handy hints and tips soon enough. So just a little message, but I also said, so how can I best help? And I've put a little bit of an information capture on the thank you page as well. And a few people have filled that in, and I can then go back to that and see whether there's a conversation to be had. You might have extra information. You can have another video. You can do anything on the thank you pages. So you might treat this as a step in the funnel as opposed to the end point of the funnel, and the goal really just being the first goal in a series of goals that the thank you page helps with. Okay, The next thing you do is you go and create these things called UTM tracking codes. It means Urchin Traffic Monitor. I believe Urchin was a company that Google bought, or the system was a platform that they integrated into Google Analytics. And this will allow you to track where your conversions come from. And what I'm about to show you is what I did. I wanted to know not just what social networks were generating the leads or generating the conversions or for the signups. I wanted to know if I posted on my profile versus a page or a private community or a public group or my email list, taking it into a different sort of social, or into Slack teams where the academy is, or YouTube description links, or the link on the website itself, which is on the top bar. I put the codes in all of this so I could track. So this is quite a granular approach. Granular is a very useful word when you come into to use Google Analytics. And we're seeking to be more granular with Google AdWords and Analytics so that we can understand the connections between things. Also, think of the first and the second post to the same place to compare results. So you can be tracking your action on the platforms, but also if you're posting several times on the platform to the same place, different posts, you can be using different tracking codes. So if you Google, on Google, create UTM code, or, and this is now moving into the new language that we're seeing with analytics, Google Analytics URL Builder. That's the one that you can search to get straight to here. Put it into your bookmarks, have it on your desktop, have it on your on Chrome, on the browser, what have you. And Google Analytics URL Builder, that's where it goes. And it will take you to a page that looks a bit like this. Now, there's more you can do with this, but I'm going to give you the fundamentals and make this an easy process, not scary. This is the thing. Number one, number two, okay? The top one is the page where people will land. It's the landing page. So that one won't change throughout this whole process. Number two is the campaign name. I call it Geekonomics, which is the name of the show. So those two you keep static. Then, campaign source, I am calling that the social platform, or it could be newsletter, or it could be email, or it could be Slack team, or what have you. Number two, campaign medium, I'm saying it's my profile. It could be the community, or it could be a page. And then campaign content, I'm saying it's the first post or a second post. Done that. So there you go. Let me just jump back, because this is really this sort of like, if you're looking at tips, this is I like to make things easy. So number one and number two, they stay the same throughout. And then all you do is you start looking at generating a code for the different places you are going to be posting, and if it's first post or second post from there. So Facebook would be the campaign source. Campaign medium would be PYB page on Facebook, and then again at the bottom, campaign. What's the last one? Content would be the first post. Hopefully that will make sense. Zip back if it doesn't. Ask in YouTube comments if you've got any issues as well. Okay, what that will then do is generate one of these looking codes, and you'll find that you've got the Facebook and you've got the PYB page, and the last one says first post down the bottom there as well. So what I did there is take that one and click generate the code. In fact, it auto generates, and then you could copy it, or you could use the whole thing. Wherever it goes, however, it will forward to that particular string of information. And that will then be reflected back into analytics. That one there, Facebook page, yep. Okay, then you generate a code without posting anything, with the intent that you're going to post it from, for instance, my Google Plus profile, the first post, the second post from my Google Plus profile, the Plus Your Business profile, the second post from Plus Your Business profile, Plus Your Business community, first post, all of this. And you might generate 5, 10, 15, 20 of the posts that you're going to put out in all of these various places. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Can't Buffer do this for you or something like that? Well, you can't do it apart from on social and the location, for instance, Twitter versus Google Plus or Facebook. So in other words, you can't do this level of granularity. You like that word? It's a good one. So you can't do the profile or the page or the community, first post, all of this stuff. So using the tracking codes, you can do extra. And the reason why, from a discipline point of view, you can put this code into the into buttons. So you can have it on banners, you can have it on click-throughs on your site, like I mentioned about the top bar. You can put it into the email, you can put it to Slack teams. You can use this all the way through if you're in control of everything that's going out. So there's a reason, if something's very important to be tracked, to be doing it in this way. If you want the more sort of basic but very useful version, then things like Buffer and Hootsuite will be able to do the tracking. And my understanding, I haven't used Hootsuite myself for this, but I'm sure it can. But this is very much a more systematic approach in your control. Right. So you've got that list, you've got all of that there. You then share each link in each location relating to it. And you just share it. Now, as it happens, I don't think the LinkedIn stuff showed up. So that's there. And I know Pinterest doesn't. So, but for certain Google+, Facebook, Slack, Twitter, YouTube description link, I've got the data back for all of that. So you want to verify for yourself that it does on LinkedIn. I'm not sure if it did that for me. Okay. Then it's as easy as that. You share it, and then you go to your dashboard in analytics, and you click on reporting. Then you click on acquisition. Then you click on campaigns and choose all campaigns. And what you'll find is you can see the buffer stuff there, and then you'll see that the campaign, because remember we called it in the UTM tracking, we called it Geekonomics for that campaign, and you'll see it there. Click it, and it will give you a list, because you called them all these different things, of the places where it is picking up that visits happened from. So the first things first on this particular slide is that, and this is a little suggestion, make sure you're looking at the right goal, number one, because regularly it isn't in the right goal. You're looking at something else. So number one, choose the right goal, which you had set up. So this is why calling it something very obvious is useful. Then number two, you've got a list of all the places that have been shown. Now, I might have got other ones, and it may have shown that, but I just took this as a screenshot after a day or two. Then the third one is it shows the goals that have been completed from each of those sources. And I was, as Academy members know, I said, can people go and sign up, even if you're on the list, because I wanted to get data from that for that particular message. And then the others, as I say, I'll put this out, and there's just a day or two where people went and they signed up to what was a very light offer, I hasten to add, because I wanted it for this purpose. So then on the right-hand column, you can see the value associated with each of the goal. Now, if I thought that a lead, and it was a real-world campaign, I was pushing to get leads, if the leads were worth, I don't know, $250 each, then that's where I would start to stack up that value there. If it was potential lifetime value of a client, well, lifetime value is going to go for 50, 60 grand. So you might say, okay, the value of a lead is 1,000, convert 5,000 is what acquisition cost would be, etc. So for those that don't know those models, that all ties in. But you can then start to look at which channels are providing you with value, with something that you can then go to your boss or going back in the business, go, right, this is actually working. Note, these are only conversions to leads. They're not conversions to sales. Conversions to sales, you need to go through and make sure that you are, if you're going to do that, that you're setting up additional goals and you have a way of pushing people to achieve those goals digitally in order to make sure that you are completing the end of the funnel. Okay. Now, if you click in, you can drill down. And you can drill down to each of these, and you can see, for instance, number of sessions. You can see new users that haven't been to the site before. You can see the bounce rate, how quickly they left. You can see the pages per session, average session duration 22, and then the number of signups, for instance, there, and conversion rate. Well, conversion rate is important. And then you go, okay, if I was then to continue, and I was to do more, and I was getting more people that visited off that, 8.64% conversion rate, am I happy or not? Now, for some client work, we're getting 20% convert. Well, in fact, for some, we're getting 27 plus. But if you're getting 20%, you're usually pretty happy with an opt-in type situation, 1 in 5 people. If you're getting 10%, I think the page is probably working. If you're getting 5, I'd say there's optimization process. These are massive generalizations, by the way, but for a content-driven campaign, 8.64 is okay. It's fine for what we're dealing with. But I can then make an assessment of that is the results that I'm getting from that. We're going to come to the ROI in a little bit. Okay, do comparisons. Just an extra thing within the campaigns. If you add segments to the dashboards that you not to dashboard, if you're using segments to the results that you're getting within this particular campaign, then I could look at, for instance, let's compare all users to non-converters. And we'll explain why in a second. But I see all users, and I see the non-converters. There's lots of non-converters. So what am I doing? Do I really want or not to be trying to re-engage the non-converters? I'm only getting 17 seconds on the site as average. But then again, if I jump back, I go here, well, I go, actually, well, they were signing up. I've got 7 signups off 22 seconds. Okay, so I can start to make an assessment. Would I want to re-engage them in any which way? Which we'll come on to. Also, I can then break it down. I can see that, for instance, here, the non-converters that come from my Facebook profile, 56 seconds on the page. Well, the ones that were converting only stayed there for 54. So maybe it could be interesting to re-engage the Facebook ones. And to do that, I might decide to do some retargeting to those Facebook people. I might actually remarket those Facebook people as well using Google AdWords across the ad network. So, but I can make an assessment and a judgment as to whether it's worthwhile doing that. And that's just one of a lot of options that you can start to break down. I've used the word granular. I know granular is going to go on my list of things that I'm going to oversay for the next week. Right. The next thing then, look at the remarketing list. So this is what I'm saying is it's not only about the people who are on the site that take the action that you want. You also want to be re-engaging those that didn't take the action yet. And potentially you might push them towards a different action because that one may not have been of interest. So remarketing is a Google AdWords name and retargeting is the Facebook name. And it means a way of re-engaging people once they've been to your site. So you can build lists in Google Analytics and you can import them into AdWords. This is another thing, and we're not going to go deep into this, but this is then segmentation, list building. This is really getting into how to use analytics much better than using AdWords on its own. But this is the one tip I want to give you because it's very practical infrastructure stuff. You remember I mentioned the video earlier, and we had a video on the landing page. Everyone nods. Okay. So you can market to people who are engaging on your YouTube content, who watch something, subscribe, comment, share, like, and so on. So this has got nothing to do with if they opt in. This is just if they engage. It could be on your site. It could be on somebody else's site that they've added it, the video as a video for their site if you allow embeds, or it could be on your YouTube channel. It could be on social with it, when they've embedded it, sorry, when they've shared it. So your YouTube, anybody who's engaging, essentially watching, subscribing, liking, comment, share, on your YouTube content, you can get their attention in the future, all other things being equal, using remarketing. But you have to link your AdWords account and your YouTube account. And I'm found that quite a few people haven't done this. So if you go through the process I'm about to show you, you will get prompted to connect YouTube and there. And if you're in doubt, go to plushbusiness.com, search for YouTube or search for YouTube Connect with AdWords, and you're going to get the keywords that will come up and an article that I've done around this as a process. But once you've got it connected, you'll then have the option to remarket to YouTube users. And from there, you could choose, for instance, certain videos. And from that certain videos list, you could then choose the video that you want. And this is the one that happened to be on the page itself. So you search, or you just select the ones that are shown. And you can then, stick with that. You can then say, anyone who watched this, anyone who liked this, anyone who did these things, I want to then market across Google's ad network so that I can take them to the next stage, even if they didn't opt in. Now, getting a bit more sophisticated, you could remove the people that have opted in and just remarket to those people that haven't. This is particularly relevant when you've got tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people watching videos. If you've only got a small number, less relevant. But I wanted to bring in the fact that you've got more assets on page, and think about your page copy and your video copy and video usage, as well as social in general. Video, YouTube, social, people love video. You can also do something very similar with videos on Facebook too. But we are in analytics, so I'm bringing more in on AdWords. Okay, then we move to the 9th of 10 steps. You want to look at what is the ROI. Was it all worth it? We spent a lot of time on social, love the relationship aspect, love the brand building, but is it working financially? And particularly if you're running a campaign, did it work? And you can make an assessment and judgment which channels worked. So to know that, you most often need to look at conversions to sale, not just conversions to lead. This is what I was saying a little while ago, is that stage of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I said is there. Conversions to leads are number 3. Then something happens and it's number 5. Now you might have a product site that simply has a quick funnel which goes to 5 very quickly, which is somebody looks for something, clicks an ad, or looks for something, share it on social. So, okay, start again. So somebody you share on social sees the content, clicks, goes to the site, and they then purchase. Well, that jumps straight to the 5 because you get a sale. But very often that isn't the case. So the question becomes, how do you know whether people purchased? Because analytics, unless it triggers a goal for a sale, you don't know. So this is what I'm working on now, is when a lead comes in, having a way to complete the action using a goal in analytics that allows analytics to see that person purchased. So for instance, you could send a person that buys, say, hey, great, I want you now to go to this page. The next step in the onboarding process of becoming an AdWords client or working with us is to go to this page and to tell us a little bit more information, fill in that form, etc. Now, when they submit that form, you could have a thank you page, and that moment of the thank you page is the goal completion. And if you can have a financial value on it, if they use the same email address throughout that user journey, you have then closed off that loop, potentially from 1 through to 5. And you could even attribute the sale back to the original AdWords keyword. That is what we're all seeking to do. Okay, I would say for a lot of this process, it's bitty, it's fiddly, it's taken me a while to kind of go, well, that's the only way, but that is the way to be doing it within analytics. Okay, but let's say you don't want to do that. What you then have to do is then start to look at potentially tracking. If you've only put a post out on Facebook, leads come in, opt-ins happen, you then have to segment them within your database, add tags to them, for instance, based upon the time that they came in, knowing that you only put out a Facebook post on the Monday, and then on the Tuesday you put the Twitter one out, and on the Wednesday. So you can do these little things like that. But if you don't know if they converted to sale, then all you're doing is tracking the success based on the conversion to lead. So what you're looking at within each channel is what percentage converted to lead, and then the cost versus the return that you get for that. So what we just talked about was very much the who and the granularity. But if we jump up from that, we're looking at the percentage conversion rates from each of the channels, and then what is the cost it costs for each of the channels or the overall campaign divided between it, and then the return that you get. To get the return, you're going to have to look at the lifetime value of the customer, not just the initial sale. So once you've done that, you should then go back and look at which channels you should pay attention to as they give you the best ROI. Now, for me, for instance, I didn't get any signups on Twitter, and I don't get a huge amount of clicks on Twitter. And I think that for Twitter, for building relationships, it works. But for other people, they go, yeah, I'm going to get an enormous amount on me. I haven't got millions of followers on Twitter, and so the percentage is all going to be a bit small. But I might say, okay, well, is it worth paying attention to that if I was running a campaign which was more purposeful around revenue generation as opposed to this presentation? But that's what you need to do, is go back and analyze what worked, what didn't, what you should scale. And when it comes to the scaling, you can be looking at the remarketing to the people that are most likely to then be opting in the future based upon the channel from which they came. So you can actually segment a list of anybody who came in from a particular channel. You could create that as a segmentation. You can import that into Google Analytics, and you could just remarket to those. Okay, number 10. It is not scary, but it is a process. And that's really what I want to leave you with, is hopefully it's given you some insight into how I've approached things. And there's levels and levels beyond this. And there are many people that are far more capable than I am when it comes to going into the I'm not going to say granularity, but going into Google Analytics and doing certain things. But I've just felt that this would hopefully be helpful to people to see that they can follow a process and start tracking and start justifying spend in certain areas, and potentially trim back ones that aren't working as well. And it's also great from a client point of view that they can see what is going on at a much more refined, that's another word for granular, level. So let me recap. The first thing, so these are the ABCs. Set outcomes and set up goals that match those outcomes. And that's the outcomes for the business, outcomes for the campaign. Number 2, create UTM codes and share on social. Easy as that. And then number 3, which is the C, track the results and analyze the value derived. So that's really a summary. If you take all those 10 steps and you turn them from ABCs into 1, 2, 3s, that's what you get, folks. That's all you have to do. And hopefully in that space of time, however long it took, there we go. Oh, best part, 30 minutes. You've now got a process that you can apply. Take bits that work for you and let me know how you get on. I am Martin Shervington. You'll find me on Twitter. I do say hi, and I'm there. But you find me at Martin Sherv, or you find me at Martin Shervington on Google Plus and on LinkedIn. And in fact, I'm Martin Sherv on Facebook as well, if you want to find me there. Plusyourbusiness.com is the site. And my email is martin@plusyourbusiness.com. If you're interested in talking with us about a very unique, I think it'd be very unique, a unique approach to AdWords analytics and how we use a lot of these principles within business, then please do get in touch. As I say, martin@plusyourbusiness.com. We've got a great portfolio of clients, and we've also got some very interesting processes that change how we justify spend on AdWords and how we increase your ROI across the board. There we go. Thank you very much.